We are out at a foundation in Wild Horse. It's a really exciting time in a project. Really, the hard part, as far as timeline, as far as getting all the details worked out, is on the front side. And this house is completely ready for framing, and it's actually going to start framing tomorrow. So I'm going to show you a couple components, a couple things that you see at this stage that you might not see typically. So first off, we've got some anchor bolts. These anchor bolts right here are what the bottom rim board is actually going to connect to. And so they're going to drop these in and set our actual sill plate on those anchor bolts. Also, we have brick ledge. So brick ledge is actually only used when you're going to do brick or stone. And whenever you do it, you actually have to have something for it to be able to sit on. And so before we backfill this foundation, this ground right here gets taken back about 3, 4, 5 feet. And we fill in the brick ledge right to where we can actually set the brick on it. And then we have to put all that dirt back to make it nice and compact to where you actually have, the basis of your backyard and your foundation is filled in. So basically, we've taken all that out. Now we've put it all back together, and now it's ready to frame. And that brings us to our floor package. So right here is our floor joist package. So they just dropped this off. Lumberyard did today. They've also given us some beautiful Advantech back there you can see in the yellow. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set this up. We're going to set our girders and all of our joists up. We're going to get all those ran on this foundation. I'll show you what they sit on. So they sit on piers. And one thing that we actually do interesting at CRM Built is we do continuous footers. And what a continuous footer means is a lot of your foundations are actually just pier foundations on a crawl space. And so that means it's just spot little piers, right, that it all sits on. And then you pour that pier and you have those sitting there. Well, what we do is we do a continuous footer, and then we put the piers on top of it to where now we have extra supported concrete for it to be able to sit on. So usually what we would typically do is you'd have a continuous footer, and then you would actually frame with wood up to this point and then run wood on top of wood. But the more concrete, the better. And so we're actually achieving basically the highest density of concrete we can for a crawl space foundation to be able to run that flooring on there. So whenever we do run the flooring, right, we're going to go back to these floor joists. Whenever they run these floor joists, we actually put a string line on them and we make sure they're perfectly level. The reason why we do is because we're using southern yellow pine wood, and this wood actually has a variation of almost 3/8 of an inch. And wood also has a crown, kind of this curvature that either goes up or down depending on what angle the wood is set. So we put string lines on that to make sure this floor is completely level, because we've had a ton of things in the past where sometimes floors will have hips and both humps and dips, there's the words, from the floor, just because a joist is not set perfectly or it's not actually string lined. So this is actually a really important process that we've gotten very detailed on to be able to make sure that this floor is perfectly set up. So once they get the floor, they're going to grab the Advantech, they'll run that subfloor on the entire house, and we'll actually cover up this crawl space in its entirety. Pretty cool stuff right here as we see it come to life. Really, the last thing I'll show you is here I'm standing on the back porch, and you can see it is completely filled in with gravel, and this is compact. So this is not going to sink or anything. It's not half filled. It's completely compacted down to where now we have these filled in, and then we'll come in with that finished concrete coat once we get further on in the project. So we're ready for framing, and it's going to get started, and we're excited to show you the progress here even within the next week or two whenever this house is fully framed up.